The distant colony of New Hope had always been a symbol of human resilience. Settled on the edge of known space, the colony was a thriving hub of human activity. Scientists, farmers, engineers, and families all worked together to build a new future. The colony was far from Earth, but it had become a part of humanity's heart. It was a peaceful world, one that would be hard to imagine as a target. But then, the unthinkable happened. One bright morning, the calm of the colony was shattered by a sudden signal. It was an alert, something no one had expected. An alien fleet had entered the system, their ships massive and dark, filling the sky with an overwhelming presence. They arrived without warning, their motives clear only by their actions. The ships that appeared in the colony's space were nothing like the peaceful ships humanity had grown accustomed to. These were warships, heavily armed, and built for destruction. They were the vessels of the Zorath Empire, a species known for their ruthlessness and brutal conquests across the galaxy. Their ships moved silently, like shadows in the vastness of space, and the first human response was confusion. Then, it happened. Without communication or negotiation, the alien ships opened fire. Laser beams and missiles shot from their warships, striking New Hope with terrifying accuracy. The colony's defense systems were quickly overwhelmed. No one had predicted such an attack. The human settlers, caught off guard and unprepared for such an assault, had no time to react. The people of New Hope scrambled to reach the emergency bunkers, but many were already lost. Buildings crumbled, fires spread, and the sky was filled with smoke and debris. The air was thick with the sounds of chaos. People screaming, alarms blaring, and the distant explosions that echoed through the streets. In the command center of New Hope, Captain Sarah Johnson stared at the screens in disbelief. Her fingers hovered over the buttons, trying to issue commands to the defense systems, but it was too late. The alien ships were too powerful, and their attack too fast. It was as though they had anticipated every move humanity could make. The defenses, meant to protect the colony, had been easily disabled. The warships of the Zorath Empire did not stop. They continued their relentless bombardment, each strike more powerful than the last. The ground shook beneath Sarah's feet as another missile slammed into the colony's central power station, sending a shockwave through the heart of New Hope. In seconds, the lights went out, and the entire colony was plunged into darkness. Sarah gritted her teeth, trying to make sense of the destruction. "We can't fight them," she whispered to herself. The colony was being torn apart, and there was nothing anyone could do. Her mind raced for a solution, but the truth was clear. This wasn't a fight. This was an execution. From the command center, Sarah watched in horror as the alien fleet turned its attention to the central district. The last remaining structures, the heart of New Hope, were no longer safe. The Zorath ships fired again, and the buildings began to collapse into ruins. Back on Earth, news of the attack spread like wildfire. The military immediately began preparing for a response. The shock was immense. Humanity had always prided itself on its ability to defend itself and protect its colonies. Yet here was an alien species that had destroyed everything in a matter of hours, leaving nothing but ashes in their wake. The Zorath Empire had sent a clear message. They didn't need to negotiate. They didn't need to ask for anything. They simply took what they wanted: human life, human colonies, and the very idea that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The destruction was not just an attack, it was an insult. And with that insult came the realization that no one would get away with destroying a human colony. Earth would respond. Back on New Hope, as the last of the colony's communication systems flickered and failed, Sarah could only hope that someone, somewhere, would hear the message. Earth had to know what had happened. The galaxy had to know. The Zorath Empire had made a grave mistake. They had not only destroyed a colony, they had awakened a force unlike any they had ever encountered. As the colony burned, Captain Sarah Johnson made a silent vow. This would not go unpunished. Earth's vengeance would be swift, and it would be relentless. The attack on New Hope was over in a matter of hours, But the consequences were just beginning. The humans who survived the initial assault were left with nothing but memories of their lost homes, friends, and families. The once thriving colony had been reduced to ruins, and the survivors were scattered, their hopes crushed beneath the weight of the Zorith Empire's brutal assault. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Every communication network, every media outlet, broadcasted the same shocking image: the smoldering remains of New Hope. The people of Earth, who had long considered themselves safe and untouchable at the center of human civilization, now realized they were vulnerable. No longer was Earth isolated in the vastness of space, shielded by its distance from other worlds. The Zorith Empire had crossed that line, and the galaxy now knew that humanity could be defeated. But humanity would not bow to defeat. Not now, not ever. In the heart of Earth's military command center, General Marcus Kane stood at the forefront of a hastily assembled war council. The scene before him was grim. Across the table sat top military leaders, strategists, and diplomats, all sharing the same grim expression. But amid the anger and despair, one thing was clear: the Zorith Empire had made a grave mistake. They destroyed New Hope, General Kane said, his voice low but filled with fury. And now, Earth will make them pay. The room fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. But in that silence, everyone understood the gravity of the situation. This was no longer just a conflict about a colony. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy. This was about showing the universe that humanity would not be pushed around. General Kane's eyes narrowed as he addressed the group. "Prepare the warships. We are sending a message to the Zorith Empire." The orders were clear. Earth was going to war, and the galaxy would soon know what it meant to challenge humanity. Across the globe, the military began mobilizing. The world's largest fleet of warships, once thought to be a show of strength, was now preparing for a real fight. The fleet, known as the Earth Defense Armada, consisted of over 700,000 warships, each one armed to the teeth with the most advanced weaponry humanity had ever developed. These ships had been created for a purpose: to defend Earth, to protect humanity's future, and to ensure that no one would dare threaten their way of life. The ships had been in orbit, ready for any attack, but they had never been tested. The fleet's commanders, veterans of many skirmishes and training exercises, now faced a real threat, and the anger that burned in their hearts was matched only by their determination. They would take back New Hope. They would take back humanity's pride. On Earth, the public rallied around the war effort. News of the destruction had sparked outrage, and people everywhere called for vengeance. Families who had lost loved ones in the attack were joined by millions of others who demanded justice. The human race was united, and the fury that had been building for centuries now found a purpose. As the warships powered up and began to leave Earth's atmosphere, there was a palpable sense of anticipation. The fleet's commanders were not just preparing for a fight. They were preparing for vengeance. They knew that the Zorith Empire had underestimated humanity. They knew that the Zorith had made a fatal mistake when they thought they could destroy a human colony without consequence. The Earth Defense Armada, led by General Kane and his officers, set course for the Zorith Empire's territory. It would take time for the fleet to reach the enemy, but Earth's resolve had already been made. The fleet wasn't just going to retaliate. They were going to make an example of the Zorith Empire. As the fleet passed through the solar system, General Kane stood at the helm of his flagship, the Vanguard. He stared out into the stars, his mind focused on the mission ahead. His hands clenched into fists. The memory of New Hope's destruction burned in his mind. The Zorith Empire had made their move, and now Earth would make theirs. The fleet was ready. The Earth was ready, and no one would stand in their way. The vast expanse of space was about to witness a force unlike any it had seen before. As Earth's fleet of over 700,000 warships gathered in formation, each ship was a testament to humanity's relentless ingenuity and determination. The ships were massive. their sleek metal hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars, and each was armed with state-of-the-art weaponry designed to obliterate any threat in their path. General Kane stood at the command center of the flagship Vanguard, his eyes scanning the data feeds from every corner of the fleet. He had seen countless battles, but this one felt different. The weight of the mission rested heavily on his shoulders. It wasn't just about revenge for the destruction of New Hope. It was about proving to the galaxy that Earth and humanity were not to be trifled with. It was a statement that would echo across the stars for centuries to come. The fleet, under Kane's command, was now on its way to the heart of the Zorith Empire. The journey would take several weeks, but the humans aboard those ships had no doubt that they would reach their target. The battle to avenge New Hope would be fought with every ounce of humanity's strength, intelligence, and resolve. As the ships traveled through the cold vastness of space, the crew members of the fleet remained focused. The Vanguard, as the flagship, was the heart of the operation, and its crew was highly trained, some of the best that Earth had to offer. They worked tirelessly, ensuring that the fleet was in perfect condition for the upcoming battle. There was no room for error, not after what had happened to New Hope. On the lower decks of the Vanguard, Commander Rachel Hayes, the ship's tactical officer, was busy coordinating with the other ships in the fleet. Her job was to ensure that the formations were tight, that communication lines stayed open, and that every ship in the fleet was ready to engage at a moment's notice. The tension on the bridge was palpable as they moved closer to the Zorith Empire's territory. "Commander, we've just passed the outer rim of Zorith space," an officer reported. Rachel's face remained expressionless, but her mind raced. They were in enemy territory now. No more games, no more negotiations. There was no turning back. "Prepare for combat maneuvers," she ordered, her voice calm but filled with authority. "We'll take them by surprise. Strike hard, strike fast." The crew responded swiftly, and the fleet's formation tightened. Each ship was now positioned to maximize its firepower and ensure that no Zorith vessel would be able to escape the wrath of humanity. Every captain and commander aboard the warships understood the mission. Their goal was not only to destroy the Zorith fleet, but to make a statement to the entire galaxy. Humanity would not be silenced. Earth's vengeance was coming, and it would be swift and brutal. As the fleet moved closer to the heart of the Zorith Empire, General Kane reviewed the battle plan once more. His mind was sharp, his focus unshakable. Every detail had been meticulously planned. From the timing of the first strike to the backup plans for every possible outcome, everything had been accounted for. He knew the Zorith would be formidable opponents, but they were not prepared for the sheer force of humanity's wrath. Back on Earth, the public was watching. News stations broadcast live feeds of the fleet's progress as it moved toward the Zorith Empire. The entire planet was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash. But even as the Earth's military made its final preparations, the question lingered in the air: would the Zorith Empire fall to humanity's power? The answer would come soon enough. The silence of space was broken by the hum of the fleet's engines as the 700,000 warships moved closer to their target. General Kane stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of the battlefield. The Zorith Empire's defenses were vast, but they were nothing compared to the might of Earth's fleet. Kane felt the weight of history bearing down on him. This was more than just a fight. It was a message to the entire galaxy. "General, we're entering the Zorith system," Commander Rachel Hayes announced, her voice calm but tense. "The enemy is already preparing for our arrival." Kane nodded. He expected nothing less. The Zorith Empire had built a reputation on its ruthlessness, but humanity had something they didn't: unmatched resolve. Kane knew that this battle would be a turning point, not just for Earth, but for every species that had ever underestimated humanity. "Ready the fleet," Kane ordered, his voice steady. "Once we're in range, we strike. No hesitation." The tension aboard the fleet was palpable as the ships moved into position. Each vessel was a precision instrument of destruction, loaded with weapons that could level entire planets. The Zoreth fleet, a series of jagged dark ships, appeared on the edge of the system, ready to defend their empire at any cost. As the distance between the two fleets closed, the first Zoreth ships broke formation, charging toward Earth's fleet with a reckless aggression. Their ships were faster, designed for speed rather than raw firepower. But the humans had the advantage of numbers, strategy, and advanced technology. Fire, Cain barked. The command was simple, but its effect was devastating. Earth's fleet unleashed a barrage of missiles, energy blasts, and plasma cannons. The Zoreth ships scattered, trying to dodge the incoming fire, but it was too late. The first wave of enemy vessels was obliterated in moments, their ships breaking apart in a cascade of fire and debris. "Target their command ships," Cain ordered, his focus unwavering. "We cripple their leadership, and the rest will fall." The Vanguard fired its main cannon, a beam of concentrated energy that tore through the heart of a Zoreth command ship. It exploded in a brilliant flash, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The Zoreth fleet retaliated with everything they had. Waves of missiles and plasma shots came raining down on Earth's ships, but the humans were ready. Earth's warships moved with precision, their shields absorbing the enemy's fire, while their weapon systems returned the favor tenfold. "Brace for impact," Rachel shouted, her eyes glued to the readings on her console. An explosion rocked the Vanguard as a Zoreth missile struck one of the outer shields, but it was quickly neutralized by a counterstrike. The ship's crew held steady, their training kicking in. They were soldiers of Earth, battle-hardened, resolute, and unshaken in the face of overwhelming odds. The Zoreth fleet's initial shock and awe began to fade as their forces were torn apart by Earth's relentless assault. One by one, their ships were destroyed, their weapons ineffective against the superior firepower and tactics of Earth's military. "General, we're making headway," Commander Hayes reported, her voice tinged with triumph. "The enemy is losing ships faster than they can replace them." Cain's eyes remained focused on the battlefield. He couldn't allow himself to celebrate too soon. While the first clash had gone in their favor, the Zoreth Empire was not easily defeated. They would fight to the bitter end. "We finish this," Cain said, his voice firm. "No mercy." With that command, Earth's fleet pushed forward, pressing the attack. The Zoreth ships fought valiantly, but their strength was waning. The humans had sent them a clear message: Earth would not be conquered, and anyone who dared to challenge humanity would pay the ultimate price. As the battle raged on, the cries of the dying Zoreth fleet echoed in the cold void of space, but Earth's fleet showed no sign of slowing down. Humanity's vengeance was in full swing, and there was no stopping it now. The battle was far from over. Despite the overwhelming losses, the Zoreth fleet wasn't done fighting. Their remaining ships, though fewer in number, had regrouped and formed a tight defensive line. The Zoreth commanders were desperate, but they weren't entirely without hope. They had one final weapon left, one that could turn the tide of battle and give them a fighting chance. General Cain's eyes narrowed as he observed the movements of the Zoreth fleet on the tactical display. It was clear they were attempting to regroup, but there was something different about their tactics now. They were no longer acting like the disorganized rabble that had launched the initial attack. The Zoreth fleet was preparing for something bigger. "Commander Hayes," Cain said, his voice calm but with an edge of concern. "What are they up to?" "They're gathering around a central command ship, sir," Hayes replied, her fingers flying over the console. "It's different from the rest of their ships. It's larger, heavily armed. I think it's some kind of final assault weapon." Cain didn't like the sound of that. He knew the Zoreth wouldn't go down easily, but this felt different. The Zoreth had one final card to play, and it could change everything. "Alert the fleet," Cain ordered. "Tell them to focus all fire on that ship. We don't give them a chance to strike back." The Zoreth fleet, now tightly packed around their flagship, began to charge. The sheer force of their concentration was intimidating. Earth's fleet, still strong but beginning to show signs of wear, braced for the oncoming assault. The next few moments would decide everything. The first volley of missiles came fast, streaking toward Earth's warships with a force that rattled the ship's shields. The impact sent shockwaves through the fleet, but Earth's technology was resilient. The shields absorbed the blow, and the ships immediately returned fire. But it wasn't just the size of the enemy's ships that made this assault dangerous. The Zoreth flagship had been equipped with a devastating weapon. A weapon capable of breaking Earth's defensive lines in one shot. It had the power to cripple an entire fleet in seconds. "Lock on their flagship," Kane barked. "All ships, target that vessel with everything we have." Missiles, energy beams, and plasma shots surged from Earth's fleet, all aimed at the Zoreth flagship. The battle raged on as the two sides exchanged fire, but Earth's forces were relentless, their strikes hitting home with deadly accuracy. The Zoreth flagship tried to retaliate, but its shields flickered under the constant bombardment. "We need to finish them now," Commander Hayes shouted, her voice tense. "If they fire that weapon, it'll tear us apart." Kane's mind raced. The weapon they spoke of had never been tested, but Earth couldn't afford to let it be tested today. With their remaining forces, they had to bring the Zoreth to their knees. "All ships, full power," Kane ordered, his voice filled with determination. "We're not giving them the chance to strike back." Earth's fleet unleashed everything they had left. The bombardment intensified, each blast weakening the flagship's defenses. The Zoreth flagship's weapon began to charge, and Kane could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. This was the moment that could either secure Earth's victory or spell their downfall. The flagship fired. A massive beam of concentrated energy surged toward Earth's fleet. The beam was fast, but Earth's ships had already anticipated its trajectory. At the last second, the fleet scattered, using their superior maneuverability to avoid the blast. The Zoreth flagship, now exposed and vulnerable, took a direct hit from Earth's main cannon. The explosion was massive, sending shockwaves throughout the battlefield. The flagship's hull cracked open, and in an instant, the heart of the Zoreth fleet was gone. "Direct hit," Commander Hayes cheered, her voice filled with relief. But Kane wasn't ready to celebrate just yet. The battle wasn't over. The remaining Zoreth ships scattered, some retreating, others launching desperate attacks in a last-ditch effort to survive. "We press the attack," Kane said, his voice calm but firm. "We end this now." As Earth's fleet surged forward, the Zoreth's resistance crumbled. Their once mighty fleet was now in disarray, and their commanders had no choice but to surrender or face annihilation. One by one, the Zoreth ships fell, their crew either retreating or surrendering to Earth's overwhelming might. In the end, it wasn't just Earth's superior firepower that won the day. It was humanity's unyielding resolve, their ability to adapt, to fight even in the darkest of times. As Earth's fleet took control of the battlefield, Kane knew that they had sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity would never be conquered, and anyone who dared to challenge them would face destruction. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. Earth had proven its strength, but many more challenges lay ahead. Still, as Kane looked out over the remains of the Zoreth fleet, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had shown the galaxy just what they were capable of. The battlefield was a scene of utter destruction. Earth's fleet, though victorious, had sustained heavy damage. The Zoreth fleet was decimated, their once mighty ships reduced to smoldering wreckage scattered across the stars. The silence that followed was almost surreal, as if the universe itself was holding its breath after the immense struggle. Commander Kane stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the remains of the Zoreth fleet drift slowly into the void. His expression was calm, but beneath it lay the weight of the events that had unfolded. The battle was won, but at what cost? "Status report, Commander Hayes," Kane said, his voice steady despite the fatigue that had begun to settle in. "Casualties are high, sir," Hayes replied, her voice tense. "We've lost several ships, and many of our vessels are severely damaged. But the Zoreth fleet, they've been completely wiped out. No survivors." Kane nodded, his gaze fixed on the starry expanse before him. The victory was bittersweet. While the Zoreth had been a powerful threat, and their fleet had been a force to be reckoned with, humanity had proven that they could rise to any challenge, no matter how overwhelming. "Send a message to Earth," Kane ordered. "Let them know the fleet has returned victorious. But let's not forget what we've lost and what we've gained." As the message was transmitted back to Earth, Kane's mind raced. This battle had been one of the fiercest in human history, and while Earth had emerged victorious, the question remained, what would the galaxy think now? "We've made our mark," Kane muttered to himself. "But this isn't over." Commander Hayes approached, standing beside him on the bridge. "What do you mean, sir?" Kane turned to face her, his expression somber but resolute. "We've just defeated the Zoreth, but we can't be naive. Other fleets are out there. We've shown them our strength, but we've also shown them our weakness. The galaxy will be watching. The real fight is only just beginning." Hayes nodded in understanding, but there was a flicker of concern in her eyes. "You think other empires will come after us?" "It's only a matter of time," Kane said. "Our victory today is only temporary. The galaxy doesn't forget, and we've made our enemies. The question is, who will come next?" Earth's fleets had proven themselves capable of defeating a powerful empire, but Kane knew that such power would only attract more threats. The Zoreth were no longer the only danger in the universe. There were others, just as dangerous, who would seek to challenge Earth's newfound strength. "We need to prepare," Kane said. "We need to rebuild, to strengthen our forces. We cannot afford to rest on our laurels. The Zoreth were just one challenge. The galaxy is vast, and many more dangers await us." Hayes was silent for a moment, processing his words. Then she spoke, her voice steady. "What should we do now, sir?" "Now," Kane said, turning to look at the destruction around them, "we send a message, not just to the galaxy, but to anyone who dares to challenge us. We are Earth. We stand united, and we will never be defeated." Kane's words were firm, his resolve unshakable. Earth had faced the greatest threat in its history and had emerged victorious. But the victory came with a warning. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They were a force to be reckoned with, and those who sought to conquer them would face the full wrath of Earth's might. As the message was broadcast to the farthest reaches of space, Earth's fleet began the long journey home. The war had been won, but the larger battle for humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun. The Zoreth had learned the hard way that Earth was not a planet to be underestimated. And as Earth's fleet sailed back to the safety of home, Kane knew that humanity's fight for survival and dominance in the galaxy would continue. The galaxy had been shown what Earth could do, and now every empire, every species, would think twice before challenging the humans again. The galaxy had been warned. The journey back to Earth was long, but the mood among the fleet was resolute. The stars, once a vast, mysterious expanse, now felt like a battleground that humanity had proven capable of dominating. Commander Kane stood on the bridge of the flagship, gazing out into the endless void of space, his thoughts drifting to the road ahead. The Zoreth were gone. Their fleet, once a symbol of power and destruction, was no more. But as Kane had warned, their fall would not go unnoticed. The rest of the galaxy would soon learn that Earth was not to be trifled with. But that victory came with a cost, not just in lives, but in the knowledge that humanity was no longer just a quiet, insignificant species in the universe. They had earned their place in the galactic order, and that meant both respect and fear. "Sir, we've received confirmation." Hayes's voice broke through his thoughts. "The message has been broadcast to all known systems. The galaxy knows Earth's strength now." Kane turned toward her, nodding. "Good. Let them know what happens when you threaten humanity. Hayes hesitated before speaking again. Do you think we've truly proven ourselves, sir? Or was this just the beginning? Kane's eyes narrowed as he walked slowly across the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. This is just the beginning. The Zorath were only one of many threats out there. But now, Earth is a symbol, not just of power, but of unity, of defiance. We won't back down from anyone, no matter how powerful they are. He paused, looking out at the stars once more. We've shown the galaxy that we will fight for what's ours, and we'll fight to protect those who can't protect themselves. The message Earth had sent was clear. Humanity was not a species that could be destroyed or conquered easily. They had the strength to fight back, the ingenuity to overcome, and the resolve to never surrender. But it wasn't just about military power. It was about what Earth represented. A planet united in its determination to survive and thrive. A planet that would not bow to any other species, no matter how advanced or powerful. Humanity had become a force to be reckoned with, and Kane knew that the galaxy would soon realize it. Sir, Hayes said, her voice solemn, we've lost many good people in this battle. Heroes who will never see the future they fought for. Kane nodded, his face softening with a mixture of pride and sorrow. We owe them everything, and we will never forget their sacrifice. The fleet continued its journey home, the ships now a bit more battered, but their spirit unbroken. Humanity had faced down an overwhelming threat and had emerged victorious. But this victory, Kane knew, was only the first step. The galaxy had been warned. Earth was no longer just a planet to be ignored. It was a force in the galaxy that could not be dismissed. And as humanity prepared for whatever came next, Kane knew that Earth's future was only beginning to unfold. The war was not over, but for the first time in history, humanity was no longer the underdog. Earth had earned its place among the stars, and whatever challenges the galaxy threw at them next, they would face them together as one unstoppable force. The stars ahead now held new meaning for Kane and his crew. They were not just a place of wonder and discovery. They were a battleground, and humanity would fight to the end to defend their place in the universe. As the fleet made its way home, Kane could feel the weight of the future bearing down on him. The galaxy would never be the same again, and neither would Earth.